Hello, everyone. This month we're focusing on the theme of democracy. The intro to the theme is available in the description box below. I am going to begin with some opening words. Welcome to this place. This is a home where no revealed truths are promoted and no scripture or human being accepted as infallible. This is a place for searching for truth. But we are believers. We believe in intellectual freedom. We believe in justice. We believe in compassion and concern for each other and the whole world. We believe in commitment to those ideals which make us caring and active in the struggles for human dignity. We are Unitarian Universalists. I am now going to move on to our chalice lighting. I am going to light the chalice in front of me. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, feel free to light it as well. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who have struggled for justice, and the love of those who've built beloved communities to carry on the light of hope. I'm going to share a story with you called Witness for Justice. One day in Alabama in 1968, as farmers worked in their fields, a small airplane swooped into view. The farmers looked up wonderingly as papers fluttered out of the plane into the sky and came swirling down to earth all around them. The papers were flyers about the upcoming elections, flyers with a picture of an eagle and the names of the candidates the pilot of the airplane liked the best. That pilot was John L. Cashin. He hoped those farmers would vote for the candidates of the National Democratic Party, a political party he founded to help African Americans run in Alabama's elections. He wanted the farmers, and everyone else, to know that these candidates, if elected, would use their positions in government to make life better and more fair for the farmers, their families, and all their neighbors. John Cashin was not only a pilot, he was a dentist too, and a husband, and a father of 3 children. He himself had run for mayor of his town, Huntsville, Alabama. He did not win. Later in his life, he would run for governor of the state of Alabama. He didn't win that election either, but then again, he had not expected to win. In those days in Alabama, African Americans had little chance of winning public office. Even though about 1/3 of Alabama's people were black, the Alabama state government had no elected officials who were African American. Very few blacks ran for election. Very few blacks could even vote in elections. They were kept away by unfair laws, called Jim Crow laws, and by threats of violence by white people who did not want their black neighbors to vote. So, with so little chance to win, why did John L. Cashin run for mayor and then for governor? Well, John was an activist who understood the power of public witness, and he had made a promise when he was 11 years old to do whatever he could to get blacks involved in the political process and to speak out against the injustices that kept them away. Every time John Cashin put his name on a ballot and his picture on election posters and flyers, he caught the dreams of other African Americans in Alabama. Campaign speeches gave him a chance to make some noise for justice and speak out against laws that were not fair to African Americans. When John Cashin formed the National Democratic Party, he chose as its symbol an eagle, the well-known symbol of American freedom. With eagles printed all over their flyers and signs and posters, the National Democratic Party made sure that even blacks who could not read could vote for justice-loving candidates, the ones with eagles by their names. Soon, African Americans in Alabama were running for sheriff, city councils, and judgeships, and the National Democratic Party helped get many elected. Cashin did not have to witness alone. His family, his Unitarian Universalist congregation in Huntsville, Alabama, and many other UUs and friends joined him. They came to his rallies, made their own speeches to support him, and helped him raise money to run for elections. Like John, they believed that to witness against the wrongs committed against African Americans was an important way to show their faith. Over time in Alabama, more African Americans voted. More African Americans ran for public office and won. As more African Americans became part of the Democratic and Republican parties, John Cashin's National Democratic Party was less important for public witness, and it was dissolved. John Cashin died in 2011. We can be a new generation for witnessing justice. Every time we speak up against a wrong or support people to speak up for themselves, we are part of John Cashin's legacy. He witnessed for the justice he wanted to see in this community and in our nation, an America where everyone's vote is counted. Our sermon for today was written by Reverend Evan Keeley, and it is called Democracy and Faith. Religious faith consists of our most deeply held values. It is a summation of what is of greatest importance to us, our ultimate commitments. But those commitments are expressed in many different ways, through many different aspects of our lives. They have to be, if those commitments really are ultimate commitments. So, of course, our faith expresses itself in what we say, in the work that we do, in the things that we like and dislike. And our faith absolutely finds its expression in the way we vote, in the causes we support, and in the causes we oppose. And our faith absolutely finds its expression in how we feel about our political leaders. So to pretend that politics somehow isn't relevant to religious life shows, I think, a very limited understanding of both religion and politics. Figuring out where religious liberalism ends and where political liberalism begins is a challenge for us. Not because we're shallow or confused or unwise, but because the line between political convictions and religious beliefs is actually very fine. Our beliefs, our convictions, our identities, our lives are not so easily compartmentalized. We do not cease to be religious when we step into the voting booth, and we do not stop being political when we come to church. That's as it should be. How we balance those things, as well as all the other things demanding our attention and provoking our interest, that's the hard part. Unitarian Universalists are people of faith that celebrate the creative power of difference respectfully encountered, the redemptive and healing power of different people being truly themselves and sharing those true selves with others. Yet we know that we cannot and should not expect to accept everything. We should never make a place in our religious homes for abusive and destructive behavior. We can't be truly ourselves unless we trust one another, and that means we must impose appropriate, healthy boundaries. And of course, no one religious community is going to feel like home to every single person who visits. Some will walk among us briefly and move on in search of something else. But if we actively exclude anyone, we had better make sure we understand how doing so is an expression of who we yearn to be as a religious people. The idea that if we're going to worship together and pray together and be together as a religious community, we must therefore also vote in the same way, shows a very limited understanding of what it means to be in community. This is not because our political views are unimportant or relevant to religious life. They are important and they are relevant. It is because the foundation of our faith lies in the creative possibilities of being transformed and liberated and healed by constructively encountering difference. If we insist upon unanimity and explicitly or tactically exclude anyone who falls outside the self-appointed majority, it can only be because we have very little confidence in the religious faith that supposedly binds us together. Politics is not often conducive to reconciliation, respect, and mutual understanding. We get the message again and again, loud and clear, that there is no middle ground on any issue at any given time. There are winners and there are losers. You're for capital punishment or you're against it. You're pro-choice or you're pro-life. Your state is red or it's blue. Well, we know that that reality is far more complex. And we know that democracy is messy and inefficient and imperfect. It is an unending series of processes, and we'd just better learn to live with it. Because Winston Churchill was right when he supposedly quipped that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others. As a religious people, committed to love and forgiveness and reconciliation, committed to mutual understanding and respect, and being enriched rather than threatened by difference. And yes, as a religious people committed to democracy, the question for us is how we are to participate authentically in the often divisive processes of democracy while still maintaining our religious commitments. We have a vision for our nation and our world. It is a vision of a world in which different people can come together and learn from one another rather than fearing and hating each other. Our religion calls us to practice that among ourselves and to bring that healing, saving message to the world. We can only do so if we encounter our own differences with respect and honesty and love. It is time to extinguish the chalice. I am going to blow out the candle in front of me. If you've lit a candle at home, feel free to blow it out as well. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words are by Gregory Jones. We ask our civic leaders to always guide us in ways that promote peace over war, tolerance over intolerance, reason over blind passion, and love over hate. May all here find blessing in their lives, hope in their days, and comfort in their nights. Let us go now in peace.